Greetings, humans, and welcome to another video by me, Tony B. And you'll notice I don't have great lighting in here. I notice the shadows around my eyes. I'm not trying to be mysterious or anything. I'm in my living room, and we just don't have great light, so maybe I need to actually go profesh and buy some lighting or something for these videos. So I apologize for that. So this video is going to be about one of my favorite authors, which is Stephen King. And I say one of, he actually is my favorite author. So I was going to talk about my favorite books that he's written, and then just kind of talk about why I like him and all of that. So I haven't read everything he's done, because he's written about 70 books, if you include short story collections. And I've read close to 40 now, I think. 40 books. Definitely 35. So somewhere between 35 and 40. So I'm slowly making my way through the library, the Stephen King library. So one of my life goals is to read all of his works. Maybe that doesn't sound much like a life goal. Some people strive to, cure world hunger. But this isn't like, this is just a personal goal. So anyway, so yeah, he's been writing since the 70s, and he keeps writing, and so that's one reason why I can't seem to make it through all the books. He keeps writing books, so which is a good thing. So I hope that continues. So I'm going to jump into it here. I'm going to show you my top 3 favorite Stephen King novels, and sorry for the wobble. I've got my laptop on here on my lap. So, so I'm going to start with number 3, and that would be this book right here, Bag of Bones, right there. So I've actually only read this once, because I'm trying to get through the library. I don't read a lot of them more than once, per se. There are exceptions to that, but and this is one I mean to go back to, but just from the initial reading of it, it became one of my favorites instantly. So there's a lot of jokes about Stephen King that all of his books take place in Maine, and all of them are about a writer. So actually, the top 3 you're going to see all deal with that very thing. They all take place in Maine, and they all deal with the writer. Which I don't know why people complain. People actually complain about that. I don't know why. Go ahead and put this down while I go on a tangent here. Because, well, one, he's from Maine, so it makes sense he writes about Maine. He's familiar with that. Not all of his books do take place in Maine. There are exceptions to that, but a good majority do. But again, he's from Maine, so I don't see why that's a big deal. The whole writer thing, that does get a little, you get tired of it, going book to book. Oh, it's another writer. There are exceptions to that as well, and there's plenty of exceptions to that, but it does happen quite a bit. And so, but it doesn't bother me too much. It's just like, okay, he could be something else, or she could be something else. So going back to Bag of Bones, so it's about a writer, and his wife suddenly passes away. She has a brain aneurysm, if I remember correctly, and so he just kind of goes through grief, and as anybody would, and has trouble kind of getting his life back on track. He's not writing anymore, but he is publishing. He's stored some books away, and he starts publishing those, and then he's eventually out of those, and so to try to get back on track, he goes to their summer cabin, and there's a small community there, and he gets haunted by not only his wife's ghost, but there's also another ghost at this cabin, and and there's this conspiracy with the town, dealing with this whole thing, and a rich kind of rich mogul type guy, tycoon person there as well, kind of all involved in this. I know I'm not giving too much detail here. It's been a while. I'm having trouble remembering the overall details, but it was very good, very fast-paced. I think sometimes Mr. King can be a little wordy and get kind of bogged down in backstory. sometimes backstory gets in the way. But this was a page turner. My only complaint was really with the end. It was just a little, but the rest of the books was very good. The characters are great. There's actually, don't want to spoil anything here, but something happens to a character kind of in the middle, maybe closer towards the end, but it was more in the middle, and didn't see that coming, and really felt bad with what happened to the character. When I read it, I remember saying no, because it just no. Why did that happen? So which is good writing. So there you go. So Bag of Bones. Again, the ending is all right. It's not horrible. But if you've never read King, I like to refer to me and my friend, call him Uncle Steve, because he wrote Entertainment Weekly column for quite a while, and he would always, not always, but he'd go, Uncle Steve here, and then he'd go into it, so Uncle Steve, so you might hear me calling that. So, anyway, it was a good one of the good ones. So, next, number 2, is actually his second novel, which is Salem's Lot. Again, about a writer in Maine gets caught up in the small town Jerusalem's Lot and vampires, if you didn't know that. Very well done. You wouldn't, from the sound of it, you wouldn't think so. But it's done very well. And it's been a while since I've read this one as well. But there's a good section where, towards the beginning, where he just writes about the people of the town. He kind of leaves the main character behind and just writes about the people of the town and kind of some things going on in there, like one lady's having an affair with this guy, and her husband may or may not know about it, and just little things like that. And when I was reading that, I was like, well, why do I care about these people? Because where's the main character? His name's Ben Mears, I do believe, and so. So yeah, I was wondering, well, why are we doing this? So then, once stuff starts going down, and people start becoming vampires and also getting killed, you read another section about those same people, and you basically find out if they're killed, if they become vampires, how that happens. So it was really well done, really cool, and so yeah, and again, I flew through this, and this was actually my first Stephen King book to read. I almost said right there. I didn't write a Stephen King. Sorry. So it was my first one, and just loved it. And I just delved deep into Stephen King after that. I read, I don't know how many in a row, very quickly, probably like 5 to 10, something like that, somewhere in there. And so yeah, very good. Before I do number uno, I want to talk about how I kind of approached reading Stephen King after picking this one up. So I picked this one up first because it's one of his more famous, second novel right off the success of Carrie. And so I other than this, I tried to stay away from his more famous stuff, such as Carrie, The Shining. I'm blanking. Let's see, The Dead Zone, and things like that. His earlier stuff that was very successful, Misery. I stayed away from that, and that was because I kind of felt like I knew those stories, and I heard of this one. Of course, I knew what it was about, but I didn't know any details. I didn't ever watch the miniseries that was done way back when. And I think about the time I was reading this, they were redoing that with Rob Lowe, which I never watched that either. So so that's why I read this one. But, Carrie, I felt like I knew the story, the whole prom thing, Pig's Blood and all that. And then The Shining, The Haunted Hotel. I had seen most of The Shining with Jack Nicholson at that point. I've now seen all of it. But so I felt like I knew those. So if you've never read King and you have that and you want to try it and you have those same thoughts, actually go do that. Read Carrie, read The Shining, those famous works, because they're famous for a reason. And Carrie was, by the time I read it, which was actually Geez, that was maybe 5 years ago that I finally read Carrie, and I've been reading King since about 2003, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, so I waited a long time to read Carrie, and I just absorbed that. That was really good, and you wouldn't think so because it's written in uh, like a witness account kind of thing from different people. And it's really well done. And so yeah, you're thinking about, well, I don't know, I want to try King, but Carrie, I don't know. Unless you just don't like the idea of Carrie. If you've seen the movie and like, I don't, pig's blood, all that, then I guess stay away from it. But try it. Salem's Lot, The Shining is very good as well. Those just aren't my favorites. Very close. They'd definitely be in the top 10. Some of them may creep into the top 5. So, so there you go, little Uncle Steve advice. So number 1, I told this to somebody that this was my favorite book, and they were shocked. They're like, I've never heard anybody saying this is their favorite King novel, and that would be It. Which that's surprising. I think it's maybe quite a few people's favorite, but it is very thick. Look at that. That's thick. It's just over 1,100 pages, and you may know the story of It. At least what it's about. The Pennywise the clown. Just making a new movie, which looks fantastic. But I don't know. We'll talk about the movie thing here in a second. I don't want to make this video too long, but so if you don't know what It's about. So it's about this town, Derry, Maine, which King has several books that take place in Derry. Actually, Bag of Bones starts out in Derry, and then when it moves to the Severn Cabin, that's of course it's a different town. So what's very cool about this is basically the town's haunted, or being terrorized, I should say. Not haunted, terrorized by It. And you may think It is a clown. It is not a clown. It takes the form of a clown most of the time. But It is really, this may sound cheesy, but trust me, it's done very well in the book. It is basically an alien. Okay? There's a scene later on in the book, the children, which I'll get to the children here in a second, are talking to something else. I don't want to spoil that. I don't know if it's a spoiler or not. Talking to something else about the existence of It, and flashes them back to long ago, where the ship crashes down. So, but It comes back every 27 years to basically regenerate, rejuvenate, maybe, because it goes into hibernation in that time, so it wakes up and it needs, I guess, sustenance. And so, starting out, throughout the book, you read about these different terrible events that have happened in the history of Derry. And that's because It. For instance, during when racism was very high, I can't remember exactly when. I'm thinking the 40s or so. There's this African American bar that is set on fire by a bunch of white folks, and a lot of people die. That was the influence of It, not necessarily It. And then a factory explodes, and that's the same thing. So, and then later, it realizes that it can go after children, and I can't remember exactly why. Even though I've read this one, I have read this one more than once, about 2.5 times. I'd started it for a third time, and then I kind of, something else came up, and I decided to just come back to that when I could actually read it in full. So yeah, it's terrorizing children, and so there's books basically 2 parts. It takes place when with the kids in the 50s, I think 58, and then it flashes forward to the 80s when they're about in their 30s, mid-30s, and so basically it stays separate for the most part until the end, and then it's going from one to the other, because they're kind of doing the same thing again. So very well done. It's very long, of course. So so yeah, it'll take you a while to read, even if you're a fast reader. I'm kind of a bordering slow reader. sometimes, unless I'm just really into it and then I'm flipping pages. But so this I couldn't read it in a month. It'd probably take me a good 2.5 months because I don't always read every day. So so going back to the movies, so I have a funny story about the movies. So there was the miniseries back in 1990, and so my sister, who just loved scary movies, wanted to watch every scary movie when she was a kid. Let's see, in 1990, I would have been 8 years old, and so she recorded the miniseries. Actually, the first part, they aired one part one night, and then one part the next night. She recorded the first part that night, and this was during the summer. And so the next day, she's like, "Anthony, let's watch it. We're by ourselves. Let's watch it." And stupid me, I didn't know what it was about, and I was like, "Yeah, scary movies. Yes." And so we play it, and we get to the part at the very, very, very beginning with Georgie and his paper boat, and it's down there. Pennywise the clown is down there and just grabs him. And at the point where Pennywise grabs Georgie, I just burst into tears. I was telling my sister, turn it off, I don't want to watch it," and scared Jesus out of me, because I'd never seen an evil clown. It was just bad. And so I stayed away from that for a long time. I refused to watch it, refused to talk about it, and my sister, even to this day, will just, if it's brought up, she'll just go, "Oh, turn it off, Anthony." And so I did finally watch it when I was in my 20s, 22, something like that. And it's very cheesy, I gotta say. There's some good stuff in there, but it's very cheesy. So the new movie's coming out. If you haven't seen any of the trailers, go watch them. They're very amazing trailers, both of them. Actually, as I'm recording this video, the last trailer, the second trailer, just came out this past Thursday. So and today is Saturday. So very fresh on my mind. Very good trailers. I am not going to see it in a theater just because I'm having flashbacks to when I was 8 years old. So I will watch it just in the comfort of my home with all the lights on and during the day. So yeah, I think that's going to wrap up Stephen King. I will do another video at some point about The Dark Tower, because that is coming out very soon. Actually, I think, again, the time I'm recording this video, a week, yeah. So I wanted to do a video about that and what I think of that and what I think of the movie so far, the trailers. That is something I will see in the theater. But that's another video. So thank you for watching. Those that have subscribed, thank you very much. And the comments, thank you as well. If you have any other comments, please post them, and I'll try to get to you if you have questions. Something I wasn't very good at with the last video. So thank you very much. Tony B.